Hi, welcome to session 3, and we are focusing on what it makes to become a social entrepreneur, and we look at also the entrepreneurship process, and we also look at the role of a social entrepreneur. So look at the entrepreneurship process, what makes a social entrepreneur, qualities of a social entrepreneur, and the role of social entrepreneur. What does the entrepreneur do, in other words? But of course, as always, a reminder of the definition of social entrepreneurship so that we stay focused. A process by which individuals build or transform institutions into advance solutions to social problems. So there is a diverse number of social or development problems that require interventions, and these interventions not only depend on government or private sector through business or excuse me, or any other just individual actors, but rather the advancement of such solutions to these development problems also require people that are innovative, can think with great missions, to be able to use all the available resources to be able to pursue whatever means there is to mobilize resources, but also serve without, of course, focusing on profit making, but rather creating social change. Okay, so you need those people that work through bottom up kind of trial or social experiments, if you may will, and they are willing to persuade all those kinds of diverse means to solve those development problems. So it's that kind of mission aimed at solving important problems. Of course, there is some kind of earning income, of course, entrepreneurship, but then the income is to sustain the enterprises, not like we said earlier, different from a pure business enterprise which focuses on profit making. Okay, so those resources, of course, are needed to be able to sustain any type of entrepreneurship. So the process of social entrepreneurship therefore begins with a symbol of change. Of course, some kind of attractive chance to be able to think from a business perspective, but with a social mission. Then you identify you one needs to define the problem, other than to define the problem. Focusing on what kind of mission they have, or what kind of opportunities that are available. So there is that kind of social mission to accomplish. So you justify a kind of, okay, if I am to, okay, I have identified there is a chance in the marketplace or in the society, and I know the problem after doing maybe benchmarking and needs assessment. Therefore, you set a mission, and the mission must be justifiable in terms of, okay, how long will it take, what does it take to be able to achieve that mission through investment? Do I invest? Do I have energy and capacity to invest in that? Do I have resources, and so on? So availability of resources, of course, must be the main idea for, of course, capital investment, and to start such an entrepreneurial an enterprise. Then there is kind of innovations to create change, because usually, yes, there is the ideal according to what one thinks, but then there is reality. So when reality checks, then your previous or predetermined ideas of action, of social action, might change basing on how you are engaging with people. We are going to look at social engagement processes in a moment. Okay, so Agustina and others, 2020, provide this summarized conceptualization of entrepreneurial process. So you have the environment, which has all these different factors, political, social, economic, and technology, which are interacting with the entrepreneurial skills. Okay, so the entrepreneur must have, of course, those kind of innovative skills, the personality and traits, aspiration, or whatever they think they would want to achieve in future, and then the experience. Experience matters because without experience and then with limited resources, maybe one might not know how to manage the limited resources, and that itself might affect the startup. So the opportunity is in between those factors, the environmental and entrepreneurial skills and opportunities and traits. Now, a combination of those with your opportunity, you can then evaluate whether the enterprise is possible or not. Of course, following market research and mobilization of resources, and then with enough evidence that you can start, then you make a decision whether to go ahead with the social enterprise or whether you can abandon that idea and then think again to look for other ways of engaging to solve certain social problems. So these are the current phases according to Gandhi and Reina. So they prescribe that you review an entrepreneur. Want to become an entrepreneur, the person must review vision and mission, establish the risk willingness of the organization, because of course there is always that kind of SWOT analysis, strength, what strength do you have, what opportunities are there, then versus the threats and weaknesses, the weaknesses of the organization or the threats to the organization if it's to achieve that certain vision or mission. Then establishing the mission outcome of the business, what is it that if you start this enterprise, what will it achieve? Then the idea generation and refinement. So this, of course, leads to the incubation of the idea, molding it, thinking through what mechanisms will be followed, how will people be engaged. So you start with that kind of small chunk, and therefore you see how the business would grow. Of course, circumventing these environmental factors, or even taking opportunities of those factors. So the environmental factors could either inhibit or enhance the achievement of the mission. Okay, so then you have business plan, and then after incubation, when you have the business plan very well drawn with your budget and with your own plans on how to mobilize more resources and how you will sustain your enterprise, you begin implementation, of course, with full accountability, and of course with evaluation, monitoring and evaluation to keep you learning and also doing accountability to be able to progress effectively. So again, Gandhi and Reina gives this kind of conceptualization that you have a kind of mission and vision drawn, but then it must go through development process and open source to be able to do research. You do research and then find out which possible mechanisms you can take, or possible ways that you can take to be able to achieve that particular mission and vision, and then you can come up with a new social development, which can indeed otherwise be your enterprise. So what makes entrepreneurs entrepreneurial? Okay, so Sarafti 2007 gives different ways of thinking about who the entrepreneur is, or what makes the entrepreneur. So it gives three differential kinds of thinking to depict how entrepreneurs think. Okay, so you have managerial thinking, which is characterized by causal reasoning, and then strategic thinking, which is characterized by creative causal reasoning, and then entrepreneurial thinking that is characterized by effectual reasoning. So look at each of these. So you have the managerial thinking, which looks at causal reasoning. So you have different kinds of missions, but then kinds of missions and kinds of means to achieve a certain. You have a certain mission, but you have different means of achieving that particular mission. Okay, so given all these different means, you must select between these different means on how to achieve the predetermined goal. Okay, so that is managerial thinking. So you look at this organization, it has this mission and vision, and then they have all these kinds of means to achieve that particular mission, and then they select on which effective missions could be able to achieve that particular goal. The strategic thinking, which of course current organizations look at through strategic planning and management, they have that kind of creative causal reasoning. So the distinguishing characteristic of thinking here is that there is some kind of, yes, you have you have already predetermined goal or goals, but then we also have means. But then through the process, you generate new means to achieve a certain goal. Okay, so new means are generated to achieve a certain predetermined goal. Now, what makes entrepreneurship, what makes an entrepreneur is the entrepreneurial thinking, which is characterized by the effectual reasoning. And the effectual reasoning is that you have the different means, given means, okay, imagined possible means, but then also imagined new ends using certain set of means is thought about. Okay, this is different from what we've looked at here. Here you have a certain predetermined goal, again predetermined goals, and then you generate mean, you have means and you generate others. But here you have means, a set of means, and then you think about all different possible goals or ends. How, if I take this route, how will I reach there? If I take this route, what will it take to reach there? Time, resources, energy, capacity, and so on. Okay, so this is the kind of the entrepreneurial thinking that we're talking about, and that makes an entrepreneur from these other kind of business oriented enterprises. Okay, so the effectual reasoning here is that of course all entrepreneurs begin with three categories of means. Okay, who are they in terms of traits, test abilities, what they know, education, training, expertise, experience, and who they know. Okay, so social or professional networks, because it's those networks that can help, for instance, in achieving your mission. Okay, so for instance, your organization is involved in a social entrepreneur that that aims at empowering women. So where do you go, or whom do you use through networks to be able to achieve that? Could be, okay, you rely on banks, or you rely on community leaders, or you rely, so all those kinds of networks. So you can see, for instance, these categories of means relate to what we talked about earlier in this Agustina's conceptualization. These, the entrepreneurial skills, okay, aspiration, personality, and experiences. Okay, of course, so we were saying this is the effectual reasoning is different from casual and creative casual reasoning that uses careful planning and predetermined goals, because effectual reasoning process lives and breathes execution. You execute while learning. Okay, so that's why it's an iterative kind of making or unmaking or revisiting or testing execution of planned through everyday social actions and interactions. So there is no linear way of achieving the goals, but rather you keep testing through engaging with communities or the people that you assume will benefit from your social enterprise, and then through that kind of action research, action based implementation gives you a process of learning, and then you discard those that wouldn't work and you maintain those that would work. Again, back to the common sense, ideal versus reality. Okay, so there is that kind of differences in the logic, while the causal reasoning looks at the extent that one can predict the future, therefore gives them that kind of idea that they can control it. Okay, and therefore effect development dependent. But with effectual reasoning, it depends so much on social engagements, because it assumes it assumes that that to depend on the extent that they can control the future, that they cannot predict the outcomes. So in that case, it's the social engagements that would therefore define what kind of outcomes would come up. Okay, so here you have pure forms of social engagement. Of course, you have Martin and Rosberg provide that you have the nature of action and then outcome. So if, for instance, the nature of outcome is indirect, and if the nature of action is indirect, and that means the outcome would be maintained and improved. But if the nature of action is direct, and the extent system maintained and improved is low, then you have the social service provision. Okay, so in that case, social service provision would we just give, for instance, basic needs. Okay, we just give basic needs, but without that mission of creating social change. Okay, so you can relate this to the basic needs approach of development, if you can remember that. But then you have another scenario where you have nature of action that is low, but the outcome is high. So in that case, you have social activism. So think about all those kind of way we go demonstrate, and then through demonstration maybe something could happen. That is social activism. But then on the high, with high nature of action and high level of outcome, you have social entrepreneurship. So in this case, you are both engaging with communities, acting while implementing a certain social enterprise, but also looking at high level of achieving certain outcomes. So, and that makes you the social entrepreneur that is different from the social activist or the social service provider. Okay. So there's of course qualities of social entrepreneur, and so David gives, for instance, that the social entrepreneur should be willing to self-correct. So in that case, don't think that you have it all. Okay, think about, do some kind of self-reflexivity. Okay, willingness to share credit. Okay, not that you have to say, okay, I'm the project manager and therefore I have to take credit, and yet you have been engaging with people who have been helping you to take actions. Willingness to break free of established structures, and therefore allowing some kind of what we can call positive deviance. Okay, because some organizations, for instance, are not flexible, they are closed, and therefore do not allow this kind of innovation. But breaking free from established structures by allowing some kind of level of positive deviance gives this social entrepreneur a chance to explore more opportunities and therefore become innovative. Willingness to cross disciplinary boundaries. You do not have to stay, if you are a social worker, you do not have to stay a social worker, but you can also learn business qualities. Okay, you can also, because it is those that will help you to deal with all different networks that might even help you to create better changes. Willingness to work quietly, and also strong ethical impetus. Of course, that has to do with, for instance, transparency and accountability. So here again, we reflect on this. We did this in the previous sessions, but we can again look at the unique characteristics of social entrepreneur. And so Abu gives you this list. Of course, there are those that are common to the profit-oriented entrepreneur with social entrepreneur, but there are unique characteristics. Mission leader, emotionally charged, opinion leader, socially alert, manager, visionary, and highly accountable. Highly accountable, relating to what I just talked about, strong ethical impetus. Then you have, of course, these other that are common: be innovative, be dedicated, be a leader, persistent, committed. Okay, so what then are the roles of a social entrepreneur? Now, this is a quote from David. If ideas are to take root and spread, therefore, they need champions, okay? Obsessive people who have the skill, motivation, energy, and bullheadedness to do whatever is necessary to move them forward. So to persuade, inspire, seduce, cajole, enlighten, touch hearts, alleviate fears, shift perceptions, articulate meanings, and artfully maneuver them through systems. The systems of the other environment that we just talked about earlier, of those environmental structures and factors that affect the entrepreneur when an opportunity presents itself. Okay, so a social entrepreneur must be able to persuade and inspire, but also making sure that they have that energy to do whatever it takes to create change. Okay, of course, in an ethical way. Okay, so Grigory gives these kind of roles that the social entrepreneur must adopt a mission to create and sustain social value. Okay, not just for private value or profit value, but for public good. Okay, recognizing and relentlessly pursuing new opportunities. Of course, these relate to what David is talking about in here. Engage in a process of continuous innovation, adaptation, and learning. So learning is very important, because if one does not learn from what is happening, then they have no way to keep innovating and do better. Okay, acting boldly but also exhibiting heightened accountability. So it's since we already said that the other environment, the environment influences how a social enterprise or a social entrepreneur would progress. Therefore, there could be other kind of environment that could help the entrepreneur to achieve a certain mission. So, for instance, labor unions or trade unions or cooperatives. Support from political aspirants, support of charitable cause, and support of infrastructure, instructional institutions, such as, for instance, you have research institutes and what, but also selling of merchandise, though to be, of course, thought to be antisocial. Okay, so you have these thoughts from Bonstein and David, and they give these kind of thoughts for change makers. Remember, we also said social entrepreneurs can also be termed as change makers, since their mission is to create change within society. So you have all these kind of 25 categories of thoughts that are given by Bernstein and Davis. So you have, for instance, do what you do best, begin with an end in mind, host dinner discussions to get more ideas, of course, expand what you have, publish a letter to the editor or an open meet with a newspaper editor and a congressman. So you have, this is how you generate ideas, but also engage with social networks that would later be able to help you grow. Bottom line, if entrepreneurs depend on effectual reasoning, that is dependent on people. Therefore, entrepreneurs depend on social engagements through daily, everyday social actions and interactions with them. Okay, if your mission is to change women or youth, then you must aim to interact with such groups to be able to learn from them, but also help you take action. You can take this quiz to help you maybe refocus on this session, and of course you could read David and Bernstein 2010 to be able to help you to answer these questions. These are some of the resources that you could use, and thank you.